Hi, everyone. I'm Dan Abrams, and this is Court Cam.
Call the buzzer. Call.
Take him back! Take him out!
You died in prison as well.
I've never witnessed such disrespect, callousness, and stupidity in my life.
That's Michigan District Court Judge Kenneth King, and the person he's addressing is the driver of this orange Chevy Camaro.
We on 94 with it, baby!
As onlookers cheer the driver on, he whips donuts on I-94, a major expressway leading into the city of Detroit. The viral stunt goes on for more than 10 minutes and causes a major traffic backup.
What's the traffic? What you talking about? We on 94 with it, baby!
The video floods social media and gets thousands of views. But police are not impressed by the highway sideshow and call for the driver to turn himself in. A week later, the man in the photos, 22-year-old Devin Kronk, does turn himself in
Yes, Your Honor.
and is charged with reckless driving and disturbing the peace. His license is suspended. After getting picked up for driving with a suspended license, the judge at this bond hearing lets him know he's been following his case closely.
Unfortunately for Mr. Monk, his judge watches the news.
After setting his bond at $5,000, Judge Kenneth King hits him with a dose of reality.
I've never witnessed such disrespect, callousness, and stupidity in my life.
Fighting back tears, Kronk tries to make an excuse.
I thought I had a license. I didn't see that.
Okay, sir, even if you did believe you had a license, do you not understand why you're here to begin with?
Yeah, for the stunt that I pulled.
Kronk would plead guilty to disturbing the peace, and his reckless driving charge dropped. Judge King then hands down a sentence of 1 year probation with a long list of conditions, including community service. He also gives Kronk a little advice.
Quite frankly, your actions up to this point have been reckless. You have to be a leader, sir, not a follower.
We on 94 with it, baby!
A warning here, our next story may be disturbing for some viewers. We're in Cincinnati, Ohio, for the sentencing of two parents, 50-year-old Herman C. and his partner, 44-year-old Angela Stites. They're about to hear impact statements from two victims of sexual abuse, their own daughters.
I'm so angry and hurt by you. You were supposed to protect me from monsters like him.
I thought all families did what we did. I thought all little girls and their fathers were supposed to have a relationship that me and you had. That's what happens when you brainwash a 5-year-old little girl. You were never supposed to hurt me.
Days earlier, their father was convicted of 22 counts of rape against them and their sister over the course of 14 years, beginning when they were just children. Their mother was a party to these horrible crimes and was also convicted of 4 counts of rape, multiple counts of complicity to rape, and endangering children. The abuse came to light after one of the girls reported it to a school official.
In the Bible, you're supposed to wait for marriage for something like that. I got 2 horrible parents. You lost so much because of him already, and now you have lost your life too.
Despite their horrific experiences, the brave sisters persevered and now are attempting to move forward.
For years, you have tried to control my life, and now I finally have all my control back. You can no longer hurt me or my sisters. You can no longer hurt anyone else for as long as you're living. And with that, I feel like I conquered the world.
The sisters' devastating words seemingly have no effect on their father, who stands defiant before Judge Patrick Dinkelacker.
Well, you want me to kiss your
senses. Don't think too hard, you might blow your little brain up. I'm ready to meet my maker. Your little threat here and your little life sentence is far from threatening me. It don't scare me, and I will not bow down to you or your courts. Oh, yes, you do. Yes, you do. I bow down to him right now. No, I bow to the Lord. Oh, now, you don't want me to bow to the real man, do you? That's what I thought. You're fake. You're fake.
Shame on me.
Shame on you. I'm a dirty man. Yes,
The judge then hands down sentences that likely mean both parents die in prison. Herman C. is given 221 years plus 4 life sentences, and Andrews. Next, we head to Sanford, Florida, where closing arguments are underway in the trial of Antonio Rosales. Rosales is accused of dragging a 10-year-old girl off the street and into a wooded area, where he reportedly assaulted and raped her. The defendant is described as a drifter with a violent past. Assistant State Attorney Anna Valentini is delivering her closing argument when Rosales, through a translator, vehemently objects. Seemingly insulted by being labeled a child molester, Rosales grabs a keyboard and smashes the computer monitor on the defense table. Two officers attempt to restrain him, slamming him to the floor. Meanwhile, Judge Deborah Nelson seems as though she's struggling to open a door, so she calls for some help. But Rosales is not done fighting. Finally, with the help of additional officers, Rosales is cuffed and then carried out of the courtroom.
Everybody calm down. I'll take it to
Judge Nelson suspends the trial for the evening. The next day, the jury finds Rosales guilty of kidnapping, attempted murder, and sexual battery. He receives 3 life sentences. Next, we head to Suffolk Superior Court in Boston for the trial of Andrew McCormick. The 31-year-old is charged with first-degree murder and the killing of his wife, Vanessa Masucci, a second-grade school teacher. Masucci was beaten, stabbed, and strangled, all while her 1-year-old daughter was in the house. At the crime scene, McCormick appears emotional. When police question him, he seems shocked and devastated by his wife's death. Notice a large kitchen knife missing from the home, blood on McCormick's clothes, and a rash on his body consistent with bleach, the same material allegedly used to clean up the crime scene, and they become suspicious. When asked about the rash, McCormick says he recently switched detergents. Police don't buy it, and after learning Masucci was threatening to leave her husband because he spent thousands of dollars of family savings on a cocaine habit, McCormick is charged with murder. At his arraignment, McCormick is distraught as the prosecutor provides specific details of the gruesome attack.
She had signs of both manual strangulation and as suffocation. The latter possibly from a trash bag that appeared to have been put on her head at some point.
McCormick remains emotional and pleads not guilty. At the trial 2 years later, as 2 grieving families relived this awful crime, the jury returned with a unanimous verdict.
Guilty of murder in the first degree.
At the sentencing, Masucci's parents, and now guardian of their grandchild, talk about the heartbreaking loss of their daughter.
I will cry about the pain she was in those last moments when I wasn't there to help protect her, like I promised I would do when she was growing up.
No one in this world ever did or ever will love Andrew as much as Vanessa did. And he repaid that love by viciously killing her.
Finally, when it's McCormick's turn to address the court, there would be no apology.
I did not kill her. I have never raised a finger to Vanessa, and I sure as hell didn't kill her.
McCormick was sentenced to life in Massachusetts Correctional Institution with no chance of parole. Let's face it, if this is your mugshot, you know you've had a rough day. This is 46-year-old Portland, Oregon resident Mark Seibenmorgen. He's been arraigned after going on what police called a one-man crime spree that included allegedly shoving a man to the ground, jumping on the hood of a car, flexing his muscles, then kicking in the windshield, and finally throwing rocks at a woman.
I have some paperwork for me, sir. Yes, sir.
Seibenmorgen has been charged with assault, menacing, harassment, and criminal mischief.
Is that your true name in the upper left-hand corner spelled correctly? Well, true name, it's all capitals. It means corporation, whatever is that all about, sir? Your attorney is Mr. Noss, is that correct? And he kicks gluteus maximus.
Charges are eventually dropped, and Seibenmorgen is later found not guilty of first-degree criminal mischief. While the results of his case were not highly publicized, his mugshot will live in infamy. Now to Durham, North Carolina, where Judge James Hill is presiding over a child custody case. For 3 long days, divorced parents Rashawna and Colin Morrison have been going at it, quite personally, in the courtroom.
I'm angry that his dad lives in Durham, can go on vacations with friends, take his sisters out to eat, take her on vacation, and can't seem to see his son.
The child's mother, Rashawna, claims her ex-husband abandoned their 3-year-old son and failed to pay child support. He argues she withheld his son from him and is seeking permanent custody. And the judge? Well, he isn't happy with either of them.
I could care less about it, didn't he? I did. The two of you are not anymore.
And he's about to let them know it.
Let two parents, not to choose my words very carefully. Two parents can come in and act like such idiots. Y'all the one who crawled into bed and had sex and made that baby. He didn't ask to be born. But he was. What's important is and you don't just need to see 2 adults acting like idiots. Did I say the word idiots?
He did. 3 times. Afterward, Judge Hill turns his attention towards Rashawna.
I have no doubt that you have withheld that little boy. Don't you look at me. You say one more word. You say one more word, you'll go to the Durham County Bed Records today. You say one more word. All right. That what she's got. 24 hours. We'll forget it before. We'll run her back as soon as we get done. All right, we got 48 hours. We're going to say it each about 48 hours. That is.
Rashawna eventually quiets down, and finally, after 3 heated days in the courtroom, the judge delivers his decision.
Both parents are fit and proper persons and have custody around the child under joint custody.
Just say, I can't do this. This is a disgrace. What you guys are doing, you need to let your son for 9 months. You're going to take care of him. You're drunk. You have a mistress. You have a longevity. You take care of him. I take care of my baby business. And I get with you to be his best right whenever he feels ready.
As officers try to restrain her, Morrison's brother, Sherrod Smith, comes forward from the back of the courtroom. At first, he tries to, but when that doesn't work, and Rashawna throws a bailiff a right hook, Big Brother's caught in the middle. Officers try to restrain him, but he sends one of them flying. Meanwhile, the judge makes a quick exit. As one deputy fights to gain control of Morrison, another puts her brother in handcuffs. come even more officers to shut things down. As Morrison and Smith are taken away, a third person is also restrained in the back of the courtroom. Their mother.
You should have videoed it. It's okay. I should have videoed it.
Smith and his mother are hit with 48 hours in jail for resisting a public officer, while Morrison receives 30 days. Morrison and her husband now have a joint custody agreement. Judge James Hill received a public reprimand by the North Carolina Supreme Court for improperly exercising his contempt powers, failing to maintain order and decorum, and making inappropriate comments. Next, we go to Omaha, Nebraska, for the sentencing of former Dr. Anthony Garcia, the man responsible for a string of murders that have become known as the Creighton Killings. In 2008, Garcia went to the home of his ex-boss, Dr. William Hunter, seeking revenge against the man who fired him from his Creighton University residency 7 years earlier. There, Garcia stabbed and killed both the doctor's 11-year-old son, Thomas, and housekeeper Shirley Sherman. The case went unsolved until 2013, when Garcia returned to Omaha, this time killing Dr. Roger Brumbach, another former Creighton employer, as well as his wife Mary. Garcia was charged with 4 counts of murder and multiple weapons charges, and in 2016, found guilty on all charges. Prosecutors in his case are seeking the maximum penalty for Garcia: death.
State of Nebraska versus Anthony Garcia.
2 years later, as Garcia appears before a panel of judges to learn his sentence, the man is asleep, or at least pretending to be asleep, even while several family members deliver heartfelt impact statements to the court.
We've heard a lot from the press, especially about after today, we'll finally get closure. So when you have a loved one taken from you in such a vicious and inhumane manner, that'll never happen.
Young child of 11 3/4 years should never have to innocently lose his life in a fit of anger.
Laying there in a pool of her own blood with an 8-inch butcher knife hanging out her neck. I can't get those images ever out of my head.
While Garcia still looks as if he's napping, District Judge Rick Schreiner addresses the court.
The defendant traveled from his home in Indiana to Omaha, Nebraska to commit 4 murders on 2 separate occasions. Those facts suggest lengthy premeditation and an exceptionally depraved mentality. The defendant had 5 years to reflect on the gruesomeness of the first 2 murders before he returned to Omaha to commit 2 more murders. Yet he had no remorse after the first 2 murders. In fact, he bragged about them.
As the judge moves to sentence him, Garcia remains still.
The defendant now stands convicted of 4 murders.
Until finally, he shows some slight movement.
The panel finds that a sentence of death is not excessive. It is therefore ordered, as to count 1, murder in the first degree, that a sentence of death is imposed upon the defendant, Anthony Garcia.
Not even a sentence of death can wake the slumbering Garcia.
Mr. Garcia, you are remanded in the custody of the Douglas County Sheriff for execution of this sentence.
Altogether, Garcia receives 136 years for the weapons charges and a spot on death row at the Tecumseh State Correctional Facility.
We're adjourned. Thank you.
That's all for this edition of Court Cam. I'm Dan Abrams. Thanks for watching.